How do you pronounce your last name?
Babel.
Babel. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Koinos podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Ryan Babel, who is a professional footballer, recently retired, but from a little bit of Googling, I'm sadly not the biggest football fan in the world. Not that I have anything against it, but are known for the length of your career. Not many professional athletes can stay at the top of the game for 20 years, you were telling me, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely time flew by. 20 years is not necessarily for every football player. An average career is usually 12 to 15 years if you're lucky. But 20 years is definitely can be said remarkable. Yeah.
Absolutely. How do you feel about your career, spending that much time on the sport? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, my whole life was about the sport, right? Football, and it's only now the past few months where I had the chance to sit down and look back and be like, wow, like time flew by, and what I now remember is in the moment you actually don't find yourself actually really enjoying it and realizing that you're doing something unique and that you're one of the fortunates who's able to live through the sport and play it and be on television and make a lot of people happy. And it's only now that I realize, like, wow, like I was very fortunate to be able to do that.
It's so tragic how that is. I think about that as I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm in many ways living my dream of getting
Right.
to build technology that I think is revolutionary. And I try regularly to take a step back and be like, appreciate what you're doing. This is, what you've always dreamed of. And I guess the thing is that when you're challenging when you're challenging yourself to such a high degree, it's so hard. Everything
Yeah.
is so hard, and you're I don't know. I feel like I'm failing so often. I'm doing so much poorly. I'm not living up to my own
Yeah.
expectations. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be high performing if I wasn't like really critical of
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, that is exactly, I feel like how most athletes live, and even after, let's say, a great game, people compliment you, but you still feel like it could have been better, right? So you're almost never satisfied, and you're always trying to improve in training sessions and try to do everything to get a little bit more out of it next game, and it's almost never enough, right? So yeah, I definitely agree. That's the feeling that we often have.
So now what's next for you?
Yeah, what's next for me? That's a great question. I've had the time so far to enjoy a little bit of traveling. I've been in the US for Super Bowl. I was in Las Vegas. That was a great experience. I was in Los Angeles for the Grammy week. Earlier on in December, I was in Miami for Art Basel. So I take the chance now to travel a little bit and do things that I've never had a chance to do before. I know you have Coachella in April somewhere. So that's something also that I look forward towards too. And yeah, overall, trying to find and meet new people in different spaces and just to learn and be humble and see, yeah, where I feel most comfortable and in home that I, want to explore.
Yeah, I guess no need to rush into anything. You've
Yeah.
spent 20 years doing a very rare thing. Crypto, Koinos, what brings you here?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, and of course, I'm first of all, it's a pleasure to be on the podcast, and of course, share also my story with the community, and yeah, hopefully more people. But yeah, crypto, I think overall is an interesting space. My crypto journey started in 2017, of course, and people. I had a friend who told me about Bitcoin, and my past of gambling has never been successful, and when my friend told me about Bitcoin, I saw that as gambling, so I didn't entertain it. And then a few weeks later, he called me again. He said, like, did you invest? Because it went up. And I was like, oh, I didn't. He's like, come on, like, invest because it's going up. I still didn't do it. And then after the third time, when he told me, like, hey, it went up again. Did you invest when I told you? It's like, no. And that's where at the third time, I was like, you know what? Let me try and gamble again and see if it works out this time. So I invested in Bitcoin around 12, 13,000. And then, of course, as you can guess, Bitcoin crashed to $3,000. And I wasn't lucky. But yeah, a few years later, Bitcoin came back to the all-time high of $20,000. And that's where my biggest curiosity came about. I wanted to know why Bitcoin came back. And because, yeah, at that time, if you had to believe the media, Bitcoin was just a temporary bubble. It was done. But it didn't. It came back. And that's where I started basically, going into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, learning about Bitcoin, the technology a little bit, blockchain. And yeah, here we are, seeing and learning about more different crypto projects. And for me, especially if you talk about blockchains, I feel like Koinos is, in my opinion, revolutionary, especially what they're trying to accomplish and what they're already standing for. And that's what attracted me personally to Koinos. I call myself, I guess, in the angle of entrepreneur slash investor. And if you're new into the crypto space, you are going to invest in the wrong type of projects, simply because you don't know. There's just so much going on. And what you then learn is that you have actually more failing projects or projects with the wrong intention. I'm not going to call them out, but I think everyone understands that kind of gives a bad, stain to the crypto space overall for the projects and people that actually want to try and make a difference. But once you learn to do your due diligence, and I feel like personally for me, when I came across the Koinos project and I did my due diligence, it for me, it ticked all boxes. And one of the most important boxes is, of course, also, I feel like the people behind Koinos, the vision that they have. So rather than investing in just a crypto token, you invest in people, right? And for me, I've personally always, let's say, wanted to be part of something that could be revolutionary, that had the potential to be revolutionary, just simply to say one day, like, hey, yes, I was there at the beginning, or I was part of it, or I supported that. And that's for me personally, why I support Koinos, and yeah, also invested in the company.
I too very much had that same desire of wanting to be part of something that was revolutionary. I mean, now I'm talking about, I guess a long time ago, I think that's what initially drew me to Bitcoin. Was I was searching for the next great technology, and then seeing, oh, there's this blockchain within this thing, and that's the real revolution. And then Ethereum. So I posted something today that I wonder if it resonates. I posted about this idea of Koinos being the next land of opportunity.
Mm.
And to me, that's what it really comes to. And that's kind of, I think that, we didn't think about that consciously, but I think knowing my co-founders like I do, and our motivations and my own motivations, I think we looked around at the world around us and asked ourselves, what's the next land of opportunity? We're all Americans. We all have this fantasy. We all like this idea that America was this land of opportunity, but don't feel that it is today. And then and so I remember feeling that way when Bitcoin when Bitcoin first came out, and then Ethereum. But like each time I would feel that way, and then I would be like, okay, here's all the reasons why I can't participate in this opportunity. I can't build on Bitcoin. Then Ethereum comes out, okay, it's programmable, but I can't program in Solidity. I can't do that, right? And so, and then you've got these gas fees that limit your opportunities,
Right.
And so I think there's some kind of connection where it's like, I don't know if it's so much of, I wonder how much of it is about being part of something revolutionary. But like when I think revolutionary, I think opening up entirely new opportunities. Like that's the most revolutionary thing you can do for people is give them opportunities that they didn't have before. Is that kind of what resonates, do you think?
Yeah, I think that falls under the same umbrella, right? I think if you talk about in my lifetime things that have been revolutionary. I mean, I grew up in a time without internet, without mobile devices, and then all of a sudden here are the mobile devices. Here all of a sudden you're able to send pictures and communicate and have FaceTime and have the from the iPod to the iPad and all this music and on this device. And I think that was so new and so refreshing that people be like, wow, what's the future? Like that was already crazy at that time. What's next, right? And now if you look at, of course, AI and what AI now does, I feel like you couldn't imagine that 15, 20 years ago. So I feel like we're definitely in a time where the unthinkable is not unthinkable anymore. I feel like if you're creative enough and have a vision and you are daring to think more outside of the box, I think, yeah, you can come to something that can be definitely revolutionary.
So do you have any particular use cases for Koinos? Do you have any thoughts like, I wish this thing would be built for Koinos? I have some ideas, but I don't want to project them onto you.
Yeah. Not specifically, but I think the topic of decentralization is always an interesting topic, and people always have their opinions about what is really decentralization, right? And I feel like, let's say, from the world that I am from, when it comes to athletes, I feel like creating a world where they are able to still have ownership over their own brand and image, right? Because how it works now is that you have to sign away your likeness away for, I guess, yeah, finances. But I feel like things should be maybe, I think it's time for a change where, you know, don't look at athletes only as products anymore, because I feel like the teams that sign players, they just look at athletes as products, but see them more as brands that you want to do, that you want to partner with, right? Now, if there's a space, or in this case a land where you have that type of opportunity where you can do business together, whereas in you're still being able to be an independent, now then I think you go into a whole different world where you don't feel like you're being oppressed, right? I earlier on my way home saw a video of Kanye West posting that Adidas is suing him for 250 million, but at the same time they are releasing fake product that came from Kanye himself, that he designed, right? So, but Kanye, even though we think he is this big artist, which he is, but he's still not big enough to go up against an entity like Adidas, right? So he's going to lose eventually. But yeah, he at one point signed a contract with Adidas, for his likeness, for his creativity. And in the beginning it seemed like a good, because I don't want to call him unintelligent, but I guess in the beginning it looked like a great deal for him. But now, based on what he signed, Adidas feels like they can sue him based on whatever, and he as the individual is being oppressed and now is in trouble. So if it happens to Kanye West, all these artists below him and all these athletes who are not even of that magnitude, they are in trouble long term. So this independency and feel like you really own your own brand and likeness, I think that can be an interesting conversation, how to bring changes to that.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Koinos podcast. Don't forget to follow Koinos Network on Twitter and YouTube. You can also listen to the Koinos podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.